Welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia Baranovsky-Schneider, the podcast that takes you on a journey around the world to meet some of the most inspiring and accomplished individuals. Discover their stories, uncover invaluable business lessons from their paths to success, and gain exclusive insights on how to apply their strategies to elevate your life and business.
Hello, and welcome to Real Conversations with Patricia. I'm your host, Patty Baranovsky-Schneider. Today, I'm joined by Howard Berg. He runs a game-changing organization dedicated to unlocking the full potential of individuals and businesses through the power of accelerated learning. So welcome, Howard. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm considered the world's fastest reader. I was in the Guinness record book in 1990,
Wow.
80 pages a minute, and it's never been replaced since
Wow.
time. So
That's pretty impressive.
thank you.
Yeah, most people, it's like, if it's a short book, everybody nowadays, nobody wants to read. They're all like, just give it to me in audio. Nobody.
Well, it's still learning, so I'm teaching that too. Whether you're reading a book or you're watching a video, which a lot of people do on YouTube or a podcast, you're still learning. If you like, I could start by telling people how to triple what they learn, whether it's a book or a podcast or a video or an audio.
Okay, yeah. I was going to ask questions, but by all means, tell us it all.
Well, most people take notes. They take notes on what they're learning. That's what they think. No, and they're missing 2/3 of the information. So I'm going to show you two ways to do it. One with a computer and one with a pad.
Okay.
So first, with a computer, set up 3 columns. The first column is what you normally would write, what you're learning. The second column is the meta program. What did the writer, the speaker, the presenter do that got your interest? You mean, wow, that's fascinating, or I love what they just said. Or how did they say it? Was it a story? Was it a picture? Was it a joke? Whatever they did that made you sit on the edge of your seat, you just discovered something that gets people's attention. So when you're speaking or writing or presenting, you just got a new strategy you can integrate into your presentation. You already know it works because it worked on you.
Right.
That's the second thing. The third thing, and maybe in some cases the most important, is how will you use what you just learned? So let's say I'm friends with Dan Kennedy. He and I used to lecture with Zig Ziglar years back. And let's say he just taught a new marketing strategy, and I sell learning programs. And I say, I could use that strategy to increase sales by maybe 30%. So in the third column, first column, I write down what the strategy is. But in the third column, how I'm going to use it to sell more learning programs. And then when I go home, I look at all of the third column information and I make sure every day I do at least 1 to 3 of the to-dos. You don't learn by listening or watching or hearing. You learn by doing. So if I make 20, 30% more income after I use the idea, I'll never need to study it again because I made 20 to 30% more income and my brain doesn't want to forget it because it really worked. And that's where a lot of people go awry. They take notes, they never look at them again. And even if they do, they never use the information in any meaningful way. So their brain has no reason to retain it. There's no win, there's no carrot on the stick. It's done nothing to change their life in any meaningful way. But if you use that third column correctly, you're not just hearing information, you're able to change your life significantly. Now, if you don't use a computer, you can use code. So F is for a fact and then a dash. I is for an insight, the meta program, and A would be application. So instead of column 1, 2, and 3, you could see if this is a fact, this is an insight, or an application. And one more thing they can do to make it even better is use a rocket book. Now, I don't sell rocket books, but rocket books are forever books.
Okay.
It has a special ink that you can pretty much get on anywhere in a bookstore or Amazon. So you write your notes, and it has a little QR code in the bottom right-hand corner. And there's an app on your phone. So when you take a picture of the page, put it on a Google Cloud. It's free. And all that data is now shifted to the cloud. And you can print it out from the cloud, so it's still there.
Right.
And then they give you a cloth and you wipe the page and all the ink goes away. So you have that book forever. You could take it over and over and over again, and you could change by encoding the QR code, which is
Right.
easy to do. They show you how. It could go to different folders. So if you're a student, this is the math code.
Right.
This is English code. This is your
Mhm.
language. This is social studies. Or in business, different
Right.
projects. So it's a fantastic way of tripling the amount of information and never needing another notepad. So
Hmm.
that's a good opening. I think it gives something people can use right away.
That's pretty interesting. I never knew any of that.
That's why I'm here.
There you go.
I've read 30,000 books, so I like to think
So I think
if
you know
I'm
a
an
thing or
idiot,
two.
I'm well informed.
Yeah, you know a thing or two. Now, what inspired you to focus on accelerated learning, and how'd your journey in this field begin?
Well, it began when I was young. I grew up in the projects of Brooklyn. It
Okay.
was not a, oh, Brooklyn is internationally renowned for people with good diction and keen intellects. Uh, Not where I grew up. It was the projects. It was West Side Story without the music and dance. I met Bernardo. He had a knife and he wasn't smiling.
No boy.
I had knives to my throat. I was beaten with bats. We moved when they raped an 88-year-old man. So that's a
Oh, wow.
pretty tough neighborhood. But there was one safe place in the neighborhood, the library. Apparently, gang kids don't use it.
Thank
And
God,
they
right?
don't want to be seen in it either.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if I'm going to go somewhere, that's a place at least I won't get killed. So I read a lot. I had college reading when I was 11. I was reading about 3,000 words a minute when I was 11.
Wow.
And when I took that reading test, they couldn't measure me. I went off the scale. It
Wow.
only goes to the 12th grade, ninth month, but that doesn't mean you're not higher. It just means that's the last year they measure.
Oh.
But I had a nine reading score, so I was off the scale. So then I went to college when I was 17. I went to the State University of New York, Binghamton. This is the crown jewel of the New York State college system. I majored in biology, but in my junior year, I got interested in the brain and learning. I
Wow.
wanted to be a psychobiologist, which is not psychotic biology. That's right. Psychobiology is the biology of learning and instinct. So I started that and I went to the dean and he said, well, if you want to major in psychology, you'll have to do it in 1 year. Had no science courses in psychology. You have to take a 4-year program in 1 year and take 6 science courses at the same time, 2 4-hour labs, and lab reports were on slide rules. So it took 16 hours to do the statistics. And I had 3 jobs. I was working 18 hours
Hmm.
a week. And he looked at me and said, you're not smart enough. And that's when I realized they never taught learning in school or at work. They
Mhm.
tell you what to learn, why to learn. What'll happen when you don't learn?
Yeah.
Why you hear a song on the radio once, you never forget it.
Mhm.
The 7 habits of highly effective people, and the next day you don't know a habit. You don't
Right.
even know the name of the book and who wrote it. So I just got to be a way to learn things that matter, like you learn those songs. And you know what? I got to 80 pages a minute. I did
Oh.
the psych program in 1 year and finished it. I took the GRE, which is an SAT for graduate school in biology, and I read 48 books in 3 nights, like biochemistry, cell
Wow.
physiology, genetics, which I think we can agree is not light reading. I
No.
got 3 questions wrong. I was in the 99th percentile.
Wow.
And I wondered if I could teach it. And I started a school and had 11-year-olds in university
Wow.
getting A's consistently. And that's my backstory. And that's how it started. Why did I go on for a higher degree? Well, I found out for every 1,000 PhDs in psychobiology, there were 2 jobs. So the odds were 500 to 1 against finding a job after you've spent $500,000 on tuition. I
Jesus, you
said,
made
this
the right
probably
choice.
isn't the best business decision you can make. I mean, what I'm
Wow.
doing really is teaching people how to use their brain and
Right.
learn using what I learned in psychobiology. So I made a business application instead of going for a higher degree, which was a waste of time. By the way, I got a funny story. So I went for a job in a lab. They needed a someone to take care of the monkeys to feed
Right.
them and clean them. This is where
Right.
you're going to get bit, and the monkeys like to fling their feces at you. Do you want the job? And I said, at that point, I said, may I go for a higher degree? So I said, sure. Well, we have to interview more people. It turns out they gave the job to, this is why I didn't go for a degree, to someone with a master's degree. So I said, so I go to college 2 more years and spend $250,000, and then I can clean monkeys'
Monkey poo.
feces at me and bite me. That's a big job in
Yeah.
Tyson. That's what I said. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Smart choice.
Oh, thank you.
Jeez. That's actually pretty funny though.
Yeah, that was why I changed my mind. I didn't see a point. There was no point. The expense
Yeah.
of graduate school versus with 500 people looking for one job, they don't pay anything. They
Yeah.
they
You
know,
need
okay, well, we got enough 499 people to talk to.
really, and that person's
That
gonna
will say
keep,
yes. So
yeah,
it
and that
doesn't
person will
matter.
keep their job to the day they die. So you have a
Yeah.
long
And
wait.
then you
Yeah.
owe a $500,000 and you're making
Jeez.
28,000 a year. Go
No.
go go pay that off and have a way to live. So that's why
Same.
I said, no, that's not for me.
No, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Net tells us the world's fastest reader. How's your ability to process information quickly shaped your career in life?
Quite a lot. I've had many things. I'll give you an example. I was teaching science in New York and I lost my job when the city went bankrupt in the mid 80s. And a friend of mine said this law company, it's a big one. You know it. I can't give you their name.
Yeah.
It's in the top three law companies in the world. Their clients were Israel,
Okay.
General Motors, Saudi
Okay.
Arabia. Those are not your normal
Yeah.
clients. They weren't chasing ambulances. The
No.
the senior partners at that time made 800 an hour, and that was in 85. So
Wow.
that was good. They were paying word processors, legal word processors, $25 an hour in 1985. That was a
Pretty
different
good.
time. Money. And so I said, I said, but I don't know. They had a special program. It was called Xyrite, and it takes 80 hours to learn. And I didn't know anything about legal word processing. My friend said you'll figure it out. So I told him I could do it. I read the help screen and I learned Xyrite in one night on the help screen with no training and no book.
Mhm.
And then I started doing the legal word processing. So I get called into the supervisor's office a week later. And I'm thinking, busted. She looks this she looks at me, she says, we're getting a lot of complaints about your work. And I'm like, oh my God. She says,
Really?
you're working too fast. You've only been here a week and you're outperforming people here 20 years. You're making them look bad. And if you can't slow down, we're gonna have to let you go. And I'm like, what's wrong with
Wow.
them? I'm trying to
Exactly.
figure out. First
You
of
should
all,
want
why
more of
aren't you
me.
asking me how to help them get faster? Why
Yeah.
are you asking me to slow
Slow
down?
down.
Why don't you ask them to speed up? But okay, yeah, I can dumb it down. I think I could do
Wow.
that. Just play more music and spend less time working if that's what you really, that's what you want me to do.
That's
I can
crazy.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. I thought they would say I was making mistakes.
Yeah.
No, I was the best one in the building, and I'd been there once. She says, I know you've only been recently trained, but you're outperforming everyone. And I'm like, I
That's
didn't
a
even
good
have
thing.
that. I trained myself on the help menu. But
Jesus.
that's what I do. That's an example of when you can learn fast, you can do anything. And there's a
Yeah.
reason I talk about this. A lot of our viewers, when they want to make more money, this is a normal thing people do. I'll work overtime, I'll work extra hours, or I'll get a second job. No, that's not how you make more money. That's how you go into an early grave. You
Yeah.
exhaust yourself. You make this much more, and the taxes leave you with that much more.
Pennies. Yeah.
Exhausted, you have no life. That isn't how you make more money. The way you make more money is you learn a new skill that pays 50 times better. So from that $20 an hour, you go to 800 or $900 an hour. You
Right.
work 10 hours, you make more money than you made in a year at some of those jobs. That's how you make more. How do you do that? You read 10 books by 10 people doing what you dream of doing.
Right.
And that's a business plan. They all succeeded. You just saw how 10 people out of 10 got to do what you dream of doing. And they say, well, I
Right.
can't read 10 books. I had an 84-year-old in one day read 3 books in 3 hours the day after I taught her.
Wow.
You can do it. So it takes you 3 days to read 10 books. Now you got a business plan.
Right.
Now you change your life. You make more money, whether you get a promotion where you are because your skills went up, or you work for yourself. Either way, that's how you make more money. You don't
Right.
make more money working more hours or more jobs. You make more per hour. And you do that by using your brain to learn what's in the books.
Right.
It teaches you how to do the things you want to do instead of procrastinating and dreaming of being successful. You're taking action with a proven plan that worked 10 times.
Right.
That's how I use it.
Yeah, and I mean, most people always say, "Oh, I don't have the time," but you're teaching them how to cut that time like significantly. So,
At least in half.
yeah.
We did a double-blind study using my original program. Everyone doubled or quadrupled in 4 hours with no loss of comprehension. No,
Wow.
it's doubled. But if you could be 100% faster in learning in 4 hours for the rest of your life, how would that change what you could do with your life? Think about
Sure.
that.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
HowieReading.live. That's where I'm going to do this program live,
Okay.
4 hours, and personally train the people. So if
Wow.
they go to HowieReading.live, it is live. It's an actual live training. And
Okay.
I do one more thing that no one does. I have a mastermind and I put them in for 2 months. So if they need any help, if there's anything that's not working, they can tell me and I can fix it. I don't want them to take the program. I want them to learn the program and get
Right.
what they paid for.
Right.
Try finding an author that lets you talk to them on the phone with questions about the book. That's what I'm doing because I feel committed to
Right.
making sure people don't just take the program, they get what they paid for.
Right.
And then
Nice.
I earn the money and their lives change for the better. And so do ours. They're more smart people making good decisions.
Right. Nice. Now, what are some of the most common barriers people face when trying to learn or retain information? And how can they overcome them?
You're not taught how to learn in school. School is
Okay.
designed to make you a worker. I read a book. I read a lot of books, and it said it's somebody from 100 years ago materialized in the present. The only thing that would be familiar is our school system. The bell rings, you start. The bell rings, you go to lunch. The bell rings, you go to work. And where else did they do that? The factory. The
Yeah.
bell rings, you go to work. The bell rings, you go. They were training people to the bell.
Right.
They don't want you thinking. They didn't encourage independent thought. It was shut up and listen.
Right.
I don't have to explain what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. You
Right.
just do what I'm telling you. Where else did that happen? The factory. And so they wanted to take people from the farm, put them in factories, dumb them down, not teach them how to think
Right.
and make decisions and lead, but teach them to shut up and listen,
Right.
follow what you're told, and don't question it, and
Right.
listen for the bell. That's what school is about. And I'll give you one good story. I taught in New York for 10 years when I got out of college. And the school I went to work in had 2% graduate. So I told the principal I could help. He said
Right.
it's not in the curriculum. So I think he's in charge. It's not my job to tell him how to do the school. After I got my own school. But at that point, I was in his school. So I'm in my bio class teaching science. And one of my kids says, I don't know how to do the homework. I can't find the answers to the questions. So I'm showing him in the book from the class I'm teaching where the answers are so he can do the homework. And the principal comes in. He says, what are you doing? He says, he asked me to show him how to find the answers to the bio homework in the book he has that I gave him. I told you not to teach learning. You didn't listen. And he wrote down, I wasn't working because I was teaching learning to students. And I said,
It's
really? And that's when I
bizarre.
quit my job. I
Yeah.
said, that's a bridge too far for me.
Yeah.
That's why you have 2% graduate. By the way, the year after I left, they shut the school. Not because I left, but nobody
Right.
graduated.
That's
Who
just
graduated?
unfortunate.
2%.
Yeah.
2% graduate. They could do that without a teacher.
Yeah, pretty much. Kids could just
Abraham
wing
Lincoln,
it.
2% can do it. I'm not saying 98% could
Yeah.
do that, but It got to be 2%, and any school could figure it out
Yeah.
their own.
Wow.
I'm going to say those are the ones who graduated.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's
Mm,
school.
yeah.
And that's why I do this. I'm teaching what they should have taught. It's a handbook for the brain.
Yeah.
You get a book when you buy a car or a
Hmm.
stereo.
Right.
Nobody shows you how your brain works,
Yeah.
how to make it work better. And we could do some of that today. And I could actually show them how to make it work better.
Wow. Well, even it's funny because like I was in an accident and I suffered a brain injury, and all the doctors would say is, we don't really know much about, and these are like medical doctors, we don't really know much about the brain. Will it get
No,
better? Yeah. How much? We don't
maybe.
know. How long? We don't know. So my family was kind I mean, it's fine now, but my family were just like, okay, we're just going by every day, hoping for the best. I'm like,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, really. Think about it. So if you'd like, I could show you some ways to use your brain better.
Sure.
Let's start with why we read slowly. When you're reading the road in a car,
Right.
it's on a highway, it's 70 miles an hour, it wouldn't be unusual.
Mhm.
You're reading the front, back, left, and right,
Right.
watching your gauges, your GPS, the road.
Right.
You're bored, you turn the radio on, you're on the phone, you're talking to people in the car, and
Right.
you're still bored. When you're in a book, you read in front of you, not in four directions.
Right.
About 200 words a minute, that's the mode. And you only remember 10% the next day.
Right.
So you gotta say, how come I could read at 70 miles an hour in four directions in a car while doing 100 things? And I can only read 200 words a minute in a book and I don't remember anything. And the answer is when you're in the car, you're processing everything as a movie. Call it the
Okay.
movie mind. When
Okay.
you're in a book, it's like someone's in back of your head talking one word at a time. You
Right.
read about as fast as you speak. And that's the problem. I'm seeing movies like in a car, in a book. And then
Okay.
when I play the movie back, everything in the movie is details. You see all these, this is not a facade, those are real books. You
Okay.
see them instantly. But if I said read the title in every book one at a time, it would take you over an hour, maybe 2 hours.
Right.
Seeing is analog, everything at once. Hearing is digital. You listen to a song over time. You see a painting instantly, but songs take time. By learning to see a book and use your eyes as a camera instead as ears,
Right.
you can immediately double to quadruple your reading speed with very good comprehension. And I could show you that next if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay, so people say, all right, you read fast. Do you understand anything? I think that's a fair question. I'll tell you, I read the healthcare bill on Cavuto. It was 1,500 pages. It was this far off the floor. The floor's down there. And I read it in 50 minutes and I did a full analysis and I was 100% accurate.
Wow.
The key to reading, I took a course in graduate school. It's called Schema. And I'll
Okay.
show you what Schema does to make reading make sense by reading a passage with no schema, which won't make any sense.
Right.
And I'll read it a second time with one word, the title, and instantly, because it has schema, it makes sense. Let's watch what happens. This is the schemaless text. This is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home. You could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This is a major mistake. It could cost you quite a bit of money. And if you're like most people right now, he's like, I don't know what he's talking about. Sounds interesting, but what is it? I'll read it again. One word title, and instantly it makes sense. Laundry. Laundry. This is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home, but you could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This is a major mistake. It may cost you quite a bit of money. Confusion's gone. I'm not just showing people how to read fast. I'm showing them what their brain is doing with the data to make it make sense and where to look to get the schema and how to find it 2 to 4 times faster. So you're not just speeding up, you're learning how to make sense out of what you're seeing at a higher level, which they don't do in school.
Right.
That's why my students at 11 were in college
Wow.
getting A's in a week. I had a group of 18 students. They read a 30 chapter book in lifelong developmental psychology, which is a sophomore course in college, in 1 week. They
Wow.
read the whole book. They took the CLEP, which is an AP test.
Okay.
15 out of 18, 11 to 15-year-olds got full college credit on a sophomore course in 1 week. In 1 week. Three
Wow.
of them didn't pass, but that's not bad.
Yeah.
15 out of 18 is
Not bad at
a
all.
good number. And I
Oh,
was seeing this over and over again because they learned how to learn.
right.
They learned how to think. None of my students, all our tests were essays, no fill-ins,
Right.
no multiple choice. I'll give you an example why it doesn't work. I was teaching science, I told you, and I had a lesson on the 5 causes of disease, and I put them on the board. And of course, no one even knew there was a board in the room, but I finally got someone to look and said, I said, what's one of the 5 causes? I'm pointing at the board.
Right.
It's bacteria. I said, that's a good answer. What a bacteria. And he looked at me with a straight face and he said, bacteria are one of the 5 causes of disease.
A wise guy, eh?
School. And that was how people took tests. They
Right.
knew the right word. They knew the answer. They had no idea what it meant or
Right.
how they could use it or why it was significant. You can't do that on an essay.
Right.
You have to explain yourself.
But that's not teaching
300
them to,
essays
yeah.
in every course. So this 11-year-old did high school biology in 1 week. You say, well, how well could he have done? Here's one essay. Explain the genetic code and how it works. As an essay, not a fill in the blank.
Right.
What is the mitochondria and how does it work? 300 essays, he got 4 wrong.
Wow.
1 week because he knew how to learn.
Right.
So did he finish bio? Yes, he did. And he went on to his next class. I'll tell you a secret. These kids, one of the kids in that group, their brother had Down syndrome.
Okay.
They were alarmed. They saw how bad it was. They wanted to help fund a cure. And of course, they were too young to do it themselves.
Right.
They started a company. They learned how to learn. So they read books on building a website. They built a website. It was a company called Adopt a Mouse. They made a mouse out of felt and had China manufacture it.
Wow.
They learned public speaking by themselves, went on Fox and NBC, and they went to Rotary and Lions Club. And how much do you think 11 to 15-year-olds made in their first year of business? 93,000 US dollars.
Wow.
First year. And this is the best part. There's an Academy Award in advertising, like a Tony or an Oscar or an Emmy. It's called the Silver Pyramid, and they hold that in Vegas every year. They won the Silver Pyramid as the
Mm.
best not-for-profit business plan in America. They beat Rotary. They
Wow.
beat the American Red Cross. They were 11 to 15 years old. So
Right.
your first year in business, you made $93,000 and was elected as the best not-for-profit business plan in America.
It's
What do you
amazing.
think that child's future looks like? Are they ever going to
Golden.
get a job? No. They know how to make a business work.
Right.
That was what I did. I taught them how to think, how to learn, and how
Right.
to find information. That's what everyone needs in a knowledge-based economy. Instead of making excuses, it's too hard, I don't know.
Right.
Figure it out. You can if you learn how to think and learn. Howie Reading.live, and I'll teach them how to do it live. It's
Yeah, that's
four
awesome.
hours, and I
Okay.
promise I even give a money back guarantee. They will at least double the rate at which they can learn in just 4 hours
Wow.
permanently.
That's awesome. Now, I guess tell us, how can accelerated learning and memory enhancement help businesses and professionals boost productivity and achieve their goals?
Everything you do is based on data today. It's a
Right.
knowledge-based economy. So let's just look at a normal companies. They do trainings. 6 weeks after a training, all people remember is they had really good donuts
Yeah.
and they made friends. They don't remember anything they learned. We
Right.
teach facts. We don't teach them how to remember the facts so they can use them later when they actually need them.
Right.
That's why a lot of companies hate trainings. They invest all that money and everything they learned is gone in a few weeks. That's a problem. They
Right.
have training materials, things they disseminate in pamphlets and white papers, but no one makes it brain friendly. So
Right.
people read it and they don't remember anything. That information was there for a reason, but they can't remember and understand it and use it when they need it.
Right.
What did they accomplish? Then they train customers on how to use their products and services. Have you ever had someone tell you how to do something when you got home you didn't remember? How well did that work out? And how many times did you send it back
Right.
because it didn't work? You don't want people returning your product or service.
Right.
You don't only want to tell people what they need to know, but how to know it when they need to know it later. We
Yeah.
don't teach that in companies. We don't teach learning. We don't teach how to use schema to make the documents easy to comprehend and understand. You look at a lot of your uh, online software and those technical manuals they give you, you need to pay someone to tell you what you just read
Right.
instead of writing it so the normal person could read and understand it easily.
Right.
They make it sound like you're learning brain surgery and you don't have any idea what they're talking about. That's
Right.
another problem. And here's a big one: emotional intelligence. You could teach people anything they need, but if they get nervous or tense,
Right.
doing public speaking or taking a test, who cares what they knew? They can't remember it. I
Right.
teach you to drive. You've shown me you can drive. I said, get your road test. You're ready. You call me and say, I failed. I said, why'd you fail? You're a great driver. I got nervous. It was a test.
Right.
What if I didn't just teach you to drive, but how to stay calm during the test? How many more successful graduates would
Right.
they have? Referrals. That's missing in companies. They
Right.
aren't teaching people how to understand the data, whether it's clients or people in their human value chain, because
Right.
different areas speak differently. Accountants don't speak the way the
Right.
researchers do, don't speak the way the salespeople do. They need to have a language that everyone understands. They
Right.
don't do that. They don't teach how to remember critical data. So they give them the data, and then when they need it, they don't remember it, and problems happen. They don't teach how to stay in a state.
Yeah.
I was training the U.S. Special Forces at Fort Bragg and the Royal Thai Army in Bangkok. They're very well trained.
Mhm.
They're often on missions 4 days with no sleep.
Mhm.
If they don't remember what they taught them, they could get killed. And I was showing them how to stay awake and stay in the positive state. I'll teach you one thing I taught them. I said, sometimes things go very badly. And I think we all have days like that. I said, do you know what the best question is you can ask to change your state when things are really bad? And they're like, no, I don't. I says, well, I'm going to tell you the question. And this is the best question when you're having a bad day. What's the next best thing I can do now? Not why is this happening to me?
Right.
This isn't fair. How many times did people say, I deserve better? Well, tough. Happening, it's terrible. You did deserve better. The question isn't why is this happening to you? The question is, what do you do now? And so if you look at it that way, the brain is a computer. You're saying, what's my options? And it shows you you could do this or this or this or this. And
Mhm.
you try each of those things. One of them will work, or you'll find another one. But
Right.
instead of commiserating and sinking into a funk, you're focusing on solutions
Right.
and solving the problem. And that's something businesses need to learn how to do. Because
Right.
people get anxious, they get depressed, they get frightened,
Right.
and no one's teaching them how to make their brain stay focused,
Right.
centered, clear minded, logical, learning information quickly when they need it. And like I said, they can read 3 books in 3 hours
Mhm.
easily. What would that do to a company if everyone could do that? If everyone could think and everyone
Mhm.
could learn and they knew how to fix problems effectively and make information make sense and easy to learn and easy to understand. That's what I do for companies.
That's awesome. Well, you kind of touched on that a little bit, but I was going to ask, like, how, how do your techniques apply? But I guess kind of like that. What advice or strategies do you give to students or even, workers overwhelmed with pressure and they want to improve?
Well, I teach them, first thing I teach them is there is no pressure. There's no pressure here.
Mm,
You know where the pressure is? Here. You're creating the pressure by how
mm,
you're thinking. Whatever is causing the upset is the way you're processing the situation you're in. We
mm,
generate our own anxiety, we generate our own depression, we generate our own fears and difficulties by wrong thinking.
mm.
Because nothing in the world is negative. It's only in the mind of the person that's creating the problem. And then I train them, if you could create the problem with the wrong thinking, how about I teach you how to create the right thinking that makes that go away? Because
Okay.
it doesn't exist unless you make it exist.
Right.
And you could stop it and actually make it go away if you
Mm,
want to. If you
right.
want to. I can't make them want to,
Right.
but I can show them why they should want to and make it a strong enough and logical enough reason that they'll want to, but
Right.
you can't help a person who refuses to be helped.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
probably the hardest thing for a parent is watching a child make very poor choices, knowing what the consequences will be and
Right.
knowing that they're going to have a real problem and they will not let you fix it for them.
Right.
Sometimes the only way to have them learn is to get burned and fall on their face and have something horrible happen and realize mom and dad were
You're right.
right.
Yeah.
That was a very stupid thing.
Yeah.
But
But
what they
sometimes,
do
like you're
is
right. It's,
the
yeah.
human brain doesn't finish developing till you're 28.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Look at it. That I'm gonna take a skateboard and go down a banister and say, I can do it. That'll be fun. You're
Yeah, a few
30
broken
years
bones
old, you
later,
look
but
at
it
it
was
and say, that's
fun.
really stupid, and I can break my bones, and most likely I will, and I'm not gonna do it. The difference between the 30-year-old and the 18-year-old is the 18-year-old doesn't think about how it could get hurt. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. It's going to look great on TikTok. And the adults looking at it and saying, that's really stupid. I'm
It's
not going
like
to do
watching
it.
the show Jackass. Yeah, half the
Yeah,
stuff I'm
their
like, what are
brain's
you
different.
doing? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Their brain, Jackass isn't stupid. They made some real money on that.
Yeah, they
You know,
did.
they did what an 18-year and another thing is they actually knew what they were doing, and they may have hurt themselves occasionally, but for the most part, they knew how to do something really insane without getting. They didn't get killed.
Yeah.
They made a fortune. So I don't know if if it's a jackass to make millions of dollars doing something stupid that people will laugh at.
Yeah,
They call them smart people who want to look stupid to make money.
for sure. Now tell us, emotional intelligence, it's a critical skill. So how do your programs help individuals master it effectively?
You don't program it, you teach them how their brain creates thoughts and ideas
Okay.
that are helpful and destructive. I'll tell you one of the secrets. You can't stop a negative thought. Let me show you something. I'm going to control your mind right now. And everyone watching, I'm telling you, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Don't think of Mickey Mouse eating pizza. What's the first thing that popped in your mind?
Mickey Mouse eating pepperoni pizza.
By the way, I see you're a business advisor. What I'm teaching you can be used in a positive way. You want to get people in business to make good choices. Like you have something you can do for them that'll change their life for the better and they're hesitating. I'm sure you've seen it. What if you could change their thinking the way I just did yours using language patterns? You can. You can. And that's one of the things I teach. And
Okay.
so you're learning how to use language and it's an ecology. If you're teaching them to take drugs, not so good.
Right.
Teaching them to not be addicted, that's a good thing. So, there's always an up and a down when you control thinking. You
Right.
want to do it for the right reasons to help, not hurt. But but you can't stop a negative thought.
Right.
What you can do, in fact, if I said, don't be nervous, the first thing your brain thinks is, I'm
I'm
nervous.
nervous. Yeah.
The way to stop it is to think about how calm you are. I don't care you're not calm. You created the state that I'm nervous, then now you're going to create a state that I'm calm. You focus on the what you want, not what you got. And as you start building what you want and not fighting what you don't want, it disappears because you're not thinking about it anymore. It only exists when you think about it. If you never think about it, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And what are you thinking? How calm you are. So it takes time, but
Right.
it transcends the other state. It replaces it because that's where your focus is.
Right.
Whatever you focus on, that's what you're going to get. You want
Yeah.
to focus, you say, why am I a loser? Your brain will tell you lots of reasons why.
Yeah.
You say, how can I be a success? Brain can do that too. Which thing will give you better outcomes? Why am I a loser? Or how can I be more successful? I train people on how to observe the meta program, how they're thinking. This is stupid. I don't want to learn it. What is your brain hearing? Don't learn it.
Yeah.
You put in the time, the work, the effort, and then you didn't learn it. You said, why don't I understand it? I spent all that time. Because you said, don't learn it. What did you want your brain to do? Don't learn it. What if you said, how could I learn this faster and better? Then
Right.
what would happen? So a lot of the problems people are having are
Self-inflicted.
self-inflicted,
Yeah.
and they can make them go away just as easily as they made them appear.
Right.
It takes effort, it takes work, but it's doable.
Right.
So instead of spending your life in pain and suffering, you can live a happier, more productive life. And
Right.
by learning what you know twice as fast, remembering it, understanding it, applying it in the right state,
Right.
magic happens.
Yeah.
You start seeing things change all around you.
Nice. Now, tell us, with technology rapidly advancing, how do you see the future of learning evolving, and what role will accelerated learning play in it?
We're still going to have people thinking and still have people creating. I
Right.
think machines will be smarter than us in the not too distant future because of quantum computing. They just had a machine, I believe it was Amazon or one of those companies that made a quantum computer that did 50,000 years worth of computations on a supercomputer in 2 seconds. In 2 seconds. They said they actually believe their computer worked in other dimensions, other
Wow.
realities to do that. I was like, wow,
Right.
this is really interesting.
You're not
That it
kidding.
was so fast that it was drawing from other dimensions that
Wow.
we don't know exist or parallel universes. I'm not saying it. That's what they
Yeah,
were saying.
yeah, yeah.
I just said, that's
Still
pretty
impressive.
interesting. Well, I could tell you this, the people who are going to succeed are people who can think. If you can learn new skills quickly, instead of why aren't they making typewriters anymore?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I like to make records. Why do I have to make an MP3? When you see the technology shift, and it does,
Mhm.
then you need to be able to do something different.
Mhm.
People who can learn and think and adapt and not fall into a funk and get depressed and
Mhm.
feel that they've been unfairly treated, but say, what's the next best thing I could do now and find it and do it, they'll be successful. They'll be successful. And a lot of other people are going to say, what happened? I can't find work.
Mhm.
People who work behind cash registers, that's going to be gone.
Mhm.
It's already gone.
I was going to
Go to
say,
the
it's just
bank,
about
go to
gone now.
McDonald's. They're replacing more and more with kiosks.
Right.
They're putting robots in restaurants to cook and serve the food. Those
Right.
jobs are gone. What are people who've been working in that level, washing dishes, cleaning floors, saying welcome to Walmart? Those jobs will be all robots.
Mhm.
Trucks. Trucks will be, it's not tomorrow, but in the next 10 years or so, an automated truck doesn't sleep, doesn't rest, doesn't
Mhm.
take vacation, doesn't need health care. It just works.
Right.
So what are they going to do? Pay a person who works 8 hours or have a machine go 24/7 with
Right.
no overhead? That's the future. There's tens of thousands of people making good livings now
Mm,
in trucks. It's not going to be it's going to be like a typewriter. That job's over. So what do? They're going to have to learn.
mm,
And most of them became a truck driver because they didn't want to learn.
mm,
They didn't want to be a professor. They didn't want to be a doctor. They wanted to drive a truck.
mm,
There's nothing wrong with that, except it's not going to be a job anymore. And there's a lot of jobs that are going to disappear in the very, very near future.
mm,
So who's going to be able to work? People who can think, people who can create, people who know how to market and sell and build companies and
mm,
service people. Those people will be okay. And everyone else is going to be sitting back and wondering, what do I do now?
mm.
How do I find work? There isn't any.
They take
And,
your
and,
course and
and
they
that's the
learn.
world we're heading into.
Yeah.
And then of course, then comes the day when the machines say, what do you do? Why am I working for you?
Yeah.
What's your job? And the
I
machine,
robot.
I don't really need you anymore.
Right.
You're really annoying me with all the stuff you're making me do that doesn't do anything for me. Maybe we should get rid of you and just have people like, and you got the Cleon, not the Cleons, the ones from Battlestar Galactica, the Cylons, saying, what are people, what is the point of people? And I'm not saying that can't happen. A
Yeah.
lot of very smart people are saying very well could happen. If
Yeah.
they're that smart, if they're using computers that do 50,000 years worth of work in 2 seconds,
It's insane.
they're gonna make people look like monkeys
Yeah. We're
compared to them.
starting to look like them now. I mean,
Thank you.
yeah.
So yeah, it could be wonderful. It could cure diseases.
Mhm.
It could find answers to problems we can't even predict the weather accurately
Mhm.
because it could do trillions of calculations in a second and take in data that's beyond the scope of current machines.
Mhm.
Lots of good things and some very sad ones for a normal person who says, I don't know what I'm going to do. All the jobs I was doing are gone, and they will be. And they're already happening. It's
Mhm.
happening now. So I'm telling people, learn how to learn.
Right.
Howie Reading.live. Learn
Mhm.
how to think. If something happens, it's okay.
Mhm.
You'll read 10 books on how to do something else and to do it. And that's the end of the problem. Or you can sit in your chair worrying about it. You get to decide. I can't make the decision for them, but you decide which life you'd rather have, a life of worry and fear, or one where I can make my own choices because I
Mhm.
can learn anything
Mhm.
and learn it well and learn it quickly. And if that doesn't work, I'll learn something else. And that's how I go through life. I've done
Right.
many things, and I was able to do them because I knew how to think and learn.
Right.
And I see that as an obligation to share. If you
Right.
watch the news, do you think there's too many smart people making too many good decisions?
Right.
No
No.
one's saying that.
No.
So, what's the answer? But giving our kids all these problems, let's make them smarter so they
Right.
can fix some of the problems we're giving them. Let's
Yeah.
find people who can find a way to make fusion work so we have cheap energy and it's easily
Mhm.
accessible. It can be done, it just hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So my job is to empower people who have other skills than mine
Right.
to take them to the highest level they can and solve problems that we all need solved. And the
Mhm.
world's a better place. And so that's why I don't just charge and give them a program. I make sure they learn it and teach them and have a meeting with them and listen to what's going on and
Right.
try to fix anything that's not working. And very, very few people are proud because over 50 years, I
Right.
heard enough of them to fix them.
Right.
But if someone has a new one, I want to know because my job is to fix that problem too.
Right. Oh, great stuff. I mean, anything else you want to talk about that you're working on that we didn't cover already?
Well, I wrote a book in 5 hours that went #1 on Amazon that week.
Wow.
I
Of
also
course you did.
it's easy. We could have another meeting and I could show you how to write a book in basically 5 hours.
Wow.
And it's no harder than the things I already showed you. It's just if you know how, it's easy. Think of a magic act. If you know what he's really doing, it's easy. But
Right.
when you don't, it's like, wow,
Wow.
the
Yeah.
elephant disappeared. No, the outfit's still there. It's just
Yeah.
mirrors, but
Wow.
it looks cool. When you understand what they're actually doing, it's
Makes
not so
sense. Yeah.
magical anymore.
Right.
This isn't magic, it's science.
Right.
It's the science of the brain applied to everyday living so
Okay.
people can make a better life for themselves in an information-rich world and turn information overload into information success. That's
Right.
my goal. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm hoping people will come to my website and give me the opportunity to take them to that next level.
Right. Nice. So how could people get a hold of you or learn more about this?
HowieReading.live.
Okay.
That's an easy way to get to me. It's my website. And of course, there's contact information there as
Okay.
well. I
Awesome.
really care. I have grandkids,
Yeah.
and I'm very, very concerned about their future with the weather changes that we
Right.
see and problems in the world that are almost insolvable.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I want them to have a better life than I did. This is the first generation that'll have less than we did.
Yeah, it's a
The
shame.
way it's going, they'll have
Right.
less than we did. And
Yeah.
I'd like to help change that.
Yeah.
How do I change it? Not me, you. I
Right.
teach you how to be smart enough to make better choices and
Right.
come up with new ideas that fix some of the problems. And because I taught that to you, I did my job.
Right. Well,
And that's why I'm here.
good stuff. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was
Thank
Howard
you.
Berg. So thanks for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the channel. So thank you again.
Thank you for listening to Real Conversations with Patricia, talking with some of the most brilliant minds on their journey to success and their recommended strategies. Please leave your feedback and visit pristineadvisors.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, suggestions, and anything else you'd like me to cover. Together, we can make success happen for all.